You heard me talk about BioOptimizer's magnesium before, and I want to tell you about another product I use by them. They have a really cool line, but the high quality digestive enzyme formula is one of my favorites, right? So anytime my body is out of balance, one of the first things to go is my digestion immediately for years. And I love their digestive formula. And it ain't no run-of-the-mill digestive formula, all right? It's got a high enzymatic level of active units of Proteus. What does that mean? These are protein digestive enzymes, and their level is 100,000, one of the highest you're going to find per capsule, meaning that if you're eating a protein-rich meal, your digestion is going to be optimally supported. So what else? They have 11 other enzymes that help break down fat and starches, and they're active at different acidity levels throughout digestion. So you're getting a broad range of benefits to maximize digestion and nutrient absorption. So for me, I find that it's most helpful with 1, bloating, and 2, heartburn, 2 things I've been susceptible for years. So when my stomach is off and I'm eating a large meal, I utilize these enzymes and they help a lot. So here's a little tip. If you want to use them for digestion, you eat them with meals. If you have food allergies or sensitivities, it may be because you have incomplete protein digestion. So it's going to be really important to get that support with digestive enzymes. Also can use them systemically for benefits like injuries, wound healing, tissue remodeling, inflammation, exercise recovery. You would just take those on an empty stomach. So the nice thing is that it has benefits for digestion, but also full body. The formula, totally plant-based, vegan, cruelty-free, super important to me. It's a super clean formula. And I love companies that are doing it right. I spoke to Wade, the founder, and he mentioned something really important to me. The mission before the margin approach is the #1 thing. And the mission is to end physical suffering and optimize human health. And who doesn't want that? That's the mission for everyone, right? So they want to be the best in class and first in class in doing that, and they are. So the company ethos has got to be top tier for me to talk about them here, and they're doing it right. That's what I love about BioOptimizer. So check this out. Today you're going to get 10% off with the special Heal Thyself coupon code when you visit biooptimizers.com/DRG and enter the code DRG10. That's BIOPTIMIZERS.com/DRG, and the coupon code is DRG10. Once again, that's biooptimizers.com/Dr. G, and the coupon code is DRG10. Welcome everyone to Heal Thyself. Thank you so much for joining and taking time out of your day. We are approaching 100 shows. Can you believe that? We've been doing this for close to 100 shows. You've showed up for close to 100 shows. How blessed I feel, how wonderful of an opportunity we are taking every single week to better our health. And it's a pleasure. And I'm so grateful to be giving this information as best as possible and for it to be resonating with so many of you. We just hit 2 million views and downloads. Unbelievable. So thank you, as always. Today's show, man, we've been waiting for so long. I feel like we've been waiting 6 months for this show. This is the Protein Powder Show. I did this in 2019. In 2019, it was one of the biggest shows in the history of Heal Thyself. So hopefully, and we've covered now way more protein powders than 2019. We've gone in depth, and it's going to be a really, really good one. So if you do use a plant-based protein powder, this is the show where you want to listen to, direct everyone who's using it, because I'm about to reveal the best and the worst. All right. And also we have a special guest, Dr. Kien Vuu, unbelievable medical doctor who talks about the deep stuff that we talk about, right? That we love, the sense of purpose, the consciousness, how you show up in the world, but also the physical aspect. And he's such a great speaker. So I'm really excited to have him on the show too. So stay tuned for that. But without further ado, we really got to get into this. We really got to get into this protein powder show. So let's get into it. Man, I am amped up. We put so much work into doing our Heal Thyself show all the time. We do a lot, but some of the most amount of work that goes in is into these investigative shows, right? Green powders, cacao powders. But guess what? Now we got the 2021 official protein powder show. So the reason why it's so much work is because there's so many points that we have to go through in order to make this show. One of which being, and by say we, my assistant Melly and I, one of it being that we have to reach out to these companies, get the certificate of analysis. Now, here's the thing. A lot of companies don't want to give you anything. Some companies do, some companies don't. But at the end of the day, we've gathered them. We have them here. And not all of them, but we gathered, and I was able to go through them, do the translations, and figure out which ones are really the cleanest of the clean, the highest quality, and show up as the best protein powders on the market. All right, so if you remember back in 2019, if you've been listening that long, I did a protein powder show back in the summer. And we went over a few protein powders. And what we did was find what the problem was in plant-based protein powders. And it's no secret that heavy metals is the overriding issues. As opposed to animal-based protein powders like whey, which has much less heavy metals. Concern for other stuff, but really the reason why I chose plant-based protein powders is because of the heavy metals, particularly arsenic, cadmium, mercury, and lead being the biggest one. So many years ago, there was a consumer report that went over protein powders and found lots of amounts of heavy metals in various really popular protein powders. The problem with this stuff is that it builds up in the system, these protein powders. These heavy metals. They bioaccumulate. Heavy metals are not something where you eat them, you consume them, you pee them out, you poop them out, goodbye. And then you stop them and they're out of your system. No, they bioaccumulate. They love bioaccumulating in the tissue. So very important if you are using protein powders, right? In your morning smoothie, right? And then later after the workout. Or maybe you're pregnant and your doc says you need more protein, so you start utilizing protein powders, right? You're giving some to your kid. It's really important that we're choosing the best of the best, which is why I was driven to do this show, particularly the first time and now. So remember that Proposition 65 is the strictest mandate in California for heavy metals. And remember that there is no safe level for lead and other heavy metals. So the reason why I speak about this is because people usually don't just have one protein drink a day, particularly if they're working out, right? If they're really in it, it's part of their regimen. I, for example, will wake up, sometimes put it in my smoothie, but then if I do a workout, I'm coming back home and I want to get a quick shake post-workout, then I'll utilize it there. So there's different, and then you think about there's other foods that we have, right? Like cacao powders, green powders, which we put in our smoothie. We really have to be vigilant in understanding which powders have the best of the best, and this is why we did the show. All right, so for a breakdown, we took all of January and the first week of February to reach out to every single company. I first put out a survey on Instagram. We had over 80 companies that were submitted. We called over 80 companies, and it wasn't just one point of contact. We emailed, we DM'd them on Instagram, we called them, and we waited. And we gave every single company here more than enough time to answer, right? Remember, I said this stopped the first week of February, and right now we're middle of March. So we've given them more than a month time for any outstanding emails or DMs or calls for them to respond to us back. So I was holding it really high for these companies to have ample time, so we give them a fair shot. Okay, so that's why I can speak very confidently about the results. So when you look at heavy metals, we looked at COAs of heavy metals, pesticides, and microbiology, meaning like mold and bacteria. And I'll say this before anything, I wanted all the companies to show up, right? I want there to be more companies that are on the top of the top than not transparent. So Melly, my assistant, and I put together everything. We gave them ample time, and here are the results. All right. And you may use some of these protein powders. So this hopefully will empower you to either stay with it, maybe up level, maybe even reach out to a company that you know should be doing better, because it's us who makes changes, right? The consumer makes changes to the company makes changes to the farmers make changes to the government. This is how we make change, all right? So without further ado, let's get to those results. Companies that I could not even get in touch with. Remember, I said multiple channels with ample amount of time. Prana-On, Arbonne, Gainful Personalized Protein, Blessed Protein, Rootcology, Pea Protein, Clean Simple Eats, Sun Warrior, Aloha, Unico, Thrive Market, Botanica, Live Body, SciTech Nutrition, One Up, Care Of. What else? Shakeology. Now, if you remember in 2019, there was a massive uproar when I put up the protein powder post. And the massive uproar was a tidal wave of people who are into the Shakeology, Beachbody, multi-level marketing circuit. Now, I'm not one to write. I really wish that they actually showed up, but knowing what they know about me, they wanted nothing to do with my team. But I called out their protein powder for being marketed as one of the best on the market, but them not being transparent at all about any of the testing. So, Beachbody Shakeology still is on my list that is going in the garbage. So who else was impossible to get in touch with or any correspondence? Redcon, KOS, Healthy Soul, Proti, Simply Terra's, apparently has a vegan one. Viejo or VEJO, Evolve, Amazing Grass, Nutrition Dynamics, Beyond Yourself, Botanica, and Promix. All right, so those are the companies that we reached out, gave them ample time, couldn't even get anyone on the phone, or they didn't want to respond to anything. So great. And the thing is, these companies could be really one of the best, but I don't know. So how about the companies that we did reach out to, get in contact with, and they still didn't want to share a certificate of analysis? Now, this is always alarming, right? Remember, I'm going to say this, a certificate of analysis, I said it so many times, a third-party test is not proprietary. A company will really, one of the first things they'll say, it's proprietary, but it's not, because the heavy metals, the microbiology, and the pesticides are not proprietary at all. There's no secret ingredients in there. It's literally the byproduct of what's going on. So a company, there's a difference in spectrum in companies. Some say, no, we don't share that because you won't understand it, or we don't share that because it might confuse you, right? But there's other companies that go, yeah, we share it. Go check the website. It's on our website. So really important for us to keep that in mind, all right? So here are the companies that we reach out to but denied us a certificate of analysis. Plant Fusion, one of the very popular ones. We gave multiple calls. We were given the runaround, and ultimately, they never returned the message. Nutiva, which is another popular one, has Proposition 65 label, and that's the risk of the lead being elevated, and they didn't want to share anything. Dr. Mercola, just like the last time, in the 2019 review, we hit a dead end with them, no COA. Sprout Living, another popular one, dead end. Nutiva, nothing. They didn't share anything. First Form, like the Green Powder Show, we didn't get anywhere with them. All right. Four Sigmatic, I actually would have loved to read their COAs because I think they are potentially a good company, but I know nothing about them, to be honest. This is what they said, and I quote, "We don't typically share our COAs publicly. If we were to send them over to you, we would need to sign an NDA agreement, as well as approve anything on the COA you shared on the show. It shouldn't be this difficult. As a customer, you shouldn't have ever sign a non-disclosure agreement. So I think that's ridiculous. Nothing from Designs for Health. Juice Plus. Here's the quote that they gave us. "Thank you for contacting us. The information in a certificate of analysis is completely meaningless and likely confusing to anyone who does not have training in chemistry and regulatory compliance, which comprises the vast majority of the population." Juice Plus is trying to take me for a fool and you for a fool because, look, I don't have a chemistry major. I took some chemistry in school, and I'm certainly not a regulatory compliance official, but I learned how to read a COA. I'm pretty intelligent, at least that's what people tell me. So to disempower us and tell us that we don't have the capacity or ability to learn how to read a COA and translate it ourselves, I think that's ridiculous, and it's doing us a disservice. Juice Plus, I don't support you. Tropica, they did not give the COA. They emailed some numbers. It looked great on an email, but I need an official document. I need a third-party test that's signed by someone else. MRM Nutrition, they supplied it, but it was way too ambiguous, and I needed more exact numbers. What else? DoFit, Naked, 22 Days Nutrition, nothing. Herbalife, ooh, yeah, this one, another multi-level marketing company. And on paper, most of these companies are far from transparent. And this was the quote actually from my assistant. "Almost impossible to get in touch with anyone," close quote. Another MLM company, doTERRA, nearly impossible. We gave the runaround. Maybe a good company, right? But we need transparency. They had good transparency on their oils when I went over the show, but on their protein, I got nowhere. Shakely, Bob's Red Mill, I didn't even know they had a protein powder. Huel, Nature's Plus, they wouldn't send the COA because I didn't have an account with them, which is ridiculous, Nature's Plus. Quest, nothing. Laird by Laird Hamilton, nothing was shared. Ambrosia Collective, they said they are not going to send it. All right, what other protein powder companies were not transparent? Vega, it's gone to the toilet since it was sold. Always be wary when an associate answers like this. We don't share COAs or our products or ingredients, but what we can offer is that we have a robust quality assurance program, and we would not release a product if it didn't meet our highest standards or product specifications. Like I said in 2019, avoid Vega. Ancient Nutrition. I think the best way to speak on this is to read the quote my assistant, Melissa, put out on the Google document. Quote, "They're not going to send us anything. I tried calling them immediately. They were annoyed because they knew who you were." All right, Dr. Axe, here I'm giving you an opportunity to reach out to me if you want to do things the right way. Isagenix. This is an interesting one because it was impossible to get a COA from the company. But as fate would have it, an Instagram follower asked if I knew anything about the Isagenix powder, and they had the third-party testing. And I will say this, I wish it was organic, particularly because they use natural flavors, which can be particularly ambiguous. They use produce that can potentially be sprayed with pesticides, herbicides. So onto the COA, the first thing I noticed is they don't have a pesticide-specific COA, which is very important because I want to see the whole spectrum of pesticides that they can be testing for. Okay, very important. The second thing is the lead was way too high, almost 9 times higher. It was one of the worst protein powders I found. Stay away from Isagenix. And Orgain, one of the bigger protein powders, same as last time, no transparency. Always unfortunate because I really want Orgain to be one of the top ones because it's so accessible. But at the end of the day, no transparency, so I don't even know if it's good or not. All right, who shared the COA? Garden of Life. Well, they sent me a COA they published on their website. It was signed from their quality department, and this needs to be done by third parties for a non-biased measurement, so I kind of throw that one to the side because I don't trust it. Alani Nu did give the COA, but the lead was too high, and I don't like their formula at all. Silver Fern Organic Chocolate Protein, they were transparent. They claimed to be organic, but no organic label. As far as a COA, the chocolate plus gut health one I would use, but only at half of the recommended serving. Hemplete, they were transparent, but I do think the lead was too high. Ground-based nutrition superfood protein, the vanilla flavor. It's good looking protein. It has the organic certification. All the heavy metals were cleared, but lead was a little bit too high, which is why I would recommend only using 1 scooper, not 2. Bomar, if you recall correctly, their green powder in the past, when in this investigation, it looked pretty good in the past for their protein. They did supply the heavy metals report, not the pesticides one. I think they do need to improve their flavoring. They do use artificial flavors, and I think that they should seek to make their product organic. But if you're dead set and a loyal customer for them, then I would use half a scoop, not a full one. So some of the better ones, I would say, not the best, but because there is room for improvement, but here are some of the better ones. Organifi, on paper, it's awesome. USDA organic label, it's a good formula. I love that they shared the COA. They were really open after the green powder show. I think they do need to improve their heavy metal profile, particularly in lead. But if you're steadfast and really wanting to use this company, then for the chocolate, use half a scooper. And for the vanilla, use a third of it. On it. Love Arby Marcus, love the work that he does. This is his company. The company was transparent for the protein powder, but I think it can use major improvement. I think the lead, I know the lead was way too high, one of the highest ones in the review. So on it, I think you do need to improve your protein powder. Live Well. Protein, I really wanted to support. USDA organic, really nice packaging, pretty clean overall, actually. I'm not a fan of brown rice protein because of the arsenic content, so I don't think brown rice protein should be used really ever in protein powder. The COA they gave me was less than and not definitive. So use a less than measurement and not a definitive number, which is difficult for me because if it's less than, say, 0.1, then I can only go from 0.1 down, and it becomes a little ambiguous at the time because I don't know. And I know it changes batch to batch, but still, for me, exact numbers on that batch is important because then I can make the translation and understand better what the heavy metal content looks like. So it could be really high on this or it could be really low, but I would err on the side of caution and say, to avoid it, there are companies that have more straightforward COAs, and I'm going to mention them later. Truvani, my friend Vani, Food Babe, I love that they're USDA organic. I think they have one of the best formulas for ingredients, only 6 ingredients, which is amazing, whole food ingredients, no fillers, no additives, preservatives, or sweeteners. Overall, look pretty good. I would recommend using a little bit less than the recommended dose, which is, I think, a scooper a day. I would use a half to a 3/4 scoop. Terrasol has hemp protein. They have organic one. The COA was not as comprehensive as I'd like, but it is USDA organic, so I'm assuming that the pesticide levels were negligible to none. And the lead, which tends to be high in plant-based powders, is low. So you can actually do 2 servings, which is 2 tablespoons for Terrasol. If you really like hemp protein powder, I particularly don't like hemp, but if you do, that's going to be one of the better hemp protein powders to get. Now Sports One, they have a pea unflavored and vanilla, not the chocolate one I didn't get. COA was a little high in the lead, so I would actually recommend half a scoop to 3/4 of a scoop. It's not USDA organic, but still I tested for glyphosate and there was none in there. As far as pesticides, I would like to have a full 200 plus pesticide review. So it wasn't super comprehensive, but if you love now, then I would just recommend to use half or to 3/4 of a scoop. 20, the number 2, nutrition. Vanilla, I got the COA, heavy metals and microbiology. I would have loved to see the pesticide one. I didn't get that one. It's not certified organic, although they claim organic ingredients. Ingredients do look good though. I would have, again, like to see the pesticide levels, and the heavy metal wise, it looked okay too. So this was one of the better ones, not the best, but again, this list that I'm talking about right now is the better ones. Then if you're using it, just pay attention to my recommendations. So rounding out the last 3 of the better ones is Viva Life. I like this brand. I think there is room for improvement for them to yield lower heavy metal to powder ratio. Definitely, it's a super transparent company. Go on the website. I love it. You can go on the website and see exactly the COAs. I'm hoping that this is one of the top ones in the near future. For the banana one, they say I would say only half a scooper per day. And for the vanilla one, I would say only half to 3/4 of a scoop a day. Genuine Health from Canada, fermented vegan protein. It's the only one that they sent me was the unflavored COA, and it looked good. It looked good to use a full scooper. This is one of the better ones too. Pure Food plant-based protein powder. They were transparent. I would stick with the vanilla, not the chocolate one, and to do a scoop and a half and not 2 scoops. All right, and on to the 3 best protein powders that we found on this report. Mind you, the ones that I just spoke about before were good. I personally would use them too, so you can always explore their flavors. But the ones that I want to talk about now were the top of the top. Nuzest. Interesting because I didn't get much information back in 2019 from Nuzest, but man, when the founder heard that we were doing this protein powder show again, he got on the phone with me. He got on the phone with my assistant. He sent every single COA he has for every single protein powder, the chocolate, the coffee, the strawberry, the vanilla, heavy metals, pesticides, full panel, right? Amazing. And guess what? I looked at every single one. I looked at every single pesticide, all 200 plus, every single one to look at the numbers for every single SKU that we have or that Nuzest has. And it looked great. It looked wonderful. It was so impressive. And that's how it should be done, right? That's how the transparency should be there. The founder should get on the phone and you go, yeah, I'm proud of my protein powder. And I want to show how transparent I am. So Nuzest was really one of the top ones out there, and really happy that as opposed to 2019, now we got all the information and I can support it fully. Veg, my boy Nimai coming through. Yeah, that's just amazing. Super transparent. It had third-party testing. Like Nuzest, he sent me all of the tests, the full line, the whole line. I looked at every single number, looked really good. Really impressive profile. Used to USDA organic. They tested for glyphosate also. I saw that test, nothing. Heavy metals are low. Again, one of the top ones. This is one of the ones that I have actually in my home. And again, I'll put this out there. If it didn't look good, friend or not, I would have been very objective with this. I'm just so happy that one of my friend's lines is one of the top ones. It was really, really cool. Yeah, so I took a deep breath when I saw the calculations. I was like, good, really good. So yeah, one of my favorite ones. And this is no particular order. I'm just naming my 3 favorites. And then the other one, Planet Protein. Super transparent. This one's out of Florida. Provided a COA for the vanilla and the chocolate flavor. USDA organic, no gums, no fillers, natural flavors, no sweeteners, low heavy metals across the board. So I love that the heavy metal test is right on the website too. You can see it yourself. So again, no particular order, Nuzest, Veg, Planet Protein, the 3 best proteins. I'll be putting a post about this and celebrating all of the companies that, one, were transparent, one, are doing right by us, the customers, really wanting to educate, the ones that are on their website and putting the COAs. I love you all for that. And thank you for giving us this information, all the companies that participated. For all the companies that didn't participate, maybe next year you will, and we'll give you the opportunity. But Yeah, that's that. If you do use protein powders, now you have much better idea. I'm so happy that we can celebrate this and I was able to show it. The most fruitful part of the work is being able to share this with all of you. So there you go. 2021 protein powder review in the books. All right, let's get to this special guest. All right, everyone, today's special guest, a friend of mine, Kien Vuu, Dr. Kien Vuu. Now, look. I met him at a conference, and ever since then, I'm like, this guy's doing it right. So he was in conventional medicine, but really expanded his awareness, his education, and now he's doing big things. We're going to learn a little bit more about him, but really what he's doing. Remember, we always bring people changing the world, and he's one of them. Doc, thank you for joining the show, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
It's the first time I ever shook someone's hand before the show. We like this, everyone who's watching, we did a little, an old school, but that was really cool. So I was saying that we were at a conference, the A Forum conference, and I'm sitting in, and I go, who is this dynamic guy? His energy is radiating, right? Because we met at the dinner place.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's got energy for days. I still believe that. I still see it even this morning. But I'm like, and you were hosting, but also you were educating, and it was like, I gotta know who this guy is and what he's doing. Lo and behold, you're here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and we get to hang out.
And we get to hang out. Yeah. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I think I brought you on the show because you're doing big things, and that's what we got to talk about, how we can change people's lives.
Yeah, certainly. So I was trained as a conventional medical doctor and in a specialty called interventional radiology. And for people in the audience who don't know what that is, radiology is medical imaging, CT scans, ultrasound, x-rays, and radiologists actually can pierce inside the body to see what kind of disease is lurking on inside. That's the radiology part. The interventional part means that I'm a minimally invasive surgeon and I use radiology to perform minimally invasive procedures. Mm-hmm. So I've worked on people with end-stage diabetes, hypertension, cancers. I've done these procedures where I opened up people's leg arteries, for people whose legs are about to fall off. People who have tumors. I've taken a small tube and drove a small tube up the tumors to put in chemotherapy. Mm-hmm. All this new advanced medical technology. But about 5 years ago, I find myself, I bought my dream house, got my dream car. I'm flying around the world talking about, techniques in advanced interventional radiology. But underneath my white coat, I was sick. I was overweight. I was diabetic. I was hypertensive. I was on prescription medications. And I said to myself, man, here's this guy giving medical advice, and I'm starting to get stage 1 of the diseases that I'm treating. Mm-hmm. And something needs to change.
That's powerful, because just to understand the contrast of you being sick as a whole and then showing up at healing people. And not to take away anything from interventional radiology, but that was crazy. I did a rotation in radiology. I was like, what am I watching? What technology is this? This was something and that's so amazing that you were doing that. But it's interesting that it came to a place where, and it's a lot of doctors are out there, they're in themselves sick, right? They're suffering with something like diabetes or prediabetes or hypertension. So then how did you feel? How did you feel when you were walking around doing these talks? How'd you feel in your body at that point?
I just felt exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
I just felt like I needed to put in the work, because here's the thing. We went into medical school and we weren't given the environment or the skills to be healthy or to succeed. We were used to staying up all night, cramming for a test, and then running into doing your rotations the next day, 80 to 100-hour work weeks and studying. And the food that they have in the hospital is never any good. And we didn't get any training on nutrition.
Right, yeah.
So we weren't really given the tools to succeed in health. So I felt like crap, but I felt like this is the code we bought into. Mm-hmm. We bought into, hey, you are a doctor. We sacrifice part of ourselves to give health to other people. But, part of that system is kind of broken. And it was really around that time where I felt like a fraud, because I was starting to get chronic disease, mm-hmm. and I didn't have the tools. Mm-hmm. And it was really one patient. I remember I was about to do a paracentesis on somebody, a 43-year-old man with terminal pancreatic cancer. I was supposed to drain 10 liters of fluid from his belly. And I was thinking, I'm going to walk into this room, and, this guy is going to be all sickly. I walk in the room, he looks into my eyes, he says, "Hey, Doc, how are you doing, man?" Uh-huh. And it was right around the time that I was sick. I recently just came out of surgery for my shoulder, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do surgery anymore. It was right around the time also the person I thought I was going to marry at the time left me for another man, only because I was so focused on work. And then when he smiled at me, when he gave me that energy, I was like, how are you so happy and how are you able to radiate? And he says, Doc, it's simple. I'm so fortunate to be alive right now, and I have a choice. I have a choice every single moment how I show up in the world, and I want to spread love and joy. And it was right then that I said, here, I'm a fraud doctor, but I have choices now too. And then it was really doing the deep work and the deep dive. It was studying up more on nutrition, epigenetics, doing a fellowship in anti-aging regenerative medicine, and then doing a lot of my own healing that I was able to actually reverse those conditions in 6 months.
In 6 months.
In 6 months.
So
Hemoglobin of A1C over 7, and then down to like 5.2 in a matter of 6 months.
okay, you got to give us a little. What were the things you're doing? So you started eating better, and we know that that's like immediately you feel that.
Yeah.
Were you working out more? Did you get on supplements? Were you doing meditation? Like, what are some of the secrets, Doc?
Some
we
of the
gotta
secret.
know.
Okay, so earlier on, it was just the physical stuff. It was just, okay, let me just start sleeping right? And I started off every day, every morning with a cup of coffee, 6 pumps of International Delight, and then throughout the day, just to get me through, was Monster drinks chock full of sugar.
Wow. Whew.
So it was just giving that up, all right, and changing it. For me, I swapped it all out with sparkling water. So now I just drink some sparkling water every time I have a craving, but now I don't even have cravings. So that's great. So it was that, sleeping, and then it was exercising. And we can get into the details of that, but it was just really focusing on those things. Once I started to do some deeper personal work, I've done stuff like with Tony Robbins, with Mind Valley and things like that. This really all started. I have to take us way, way back. I was a boat refugee to this country. I was born a couple years after, the end of the Vietnam War, and my parents escaped, by boat with me on a boat. We were on a boat with 2,000 refugees.
Wow.
We were packed in like sardines. I was like 6 months old at the time, and I was the only baby that survived.
Whoa.
Right? I had dysentery. I was a floppy baby. My dad, every time he talks about it, he gets choked up. He's like, I held you in my arms, and you were just this floppy baby, wouldn't move. Wow. I spent 3 months, additional months in a Philippine refugee camp. And then we got sponsored to Los Angeles by a Catholic church. And you would think a kid who like escaped death, now in America, would grow up feeling really, really grateful, right? Not the case. I grew up feeling like I was this Asian poor immigrant kid. I got bused to a more affluent area for school. So I was constantly being teased for like the holes in my hand-me-down clothes, for the stinky food my mom made. Everybody was calling me a chink. Yeah. That didn't feel good. So I grew up with the energy of not being enough. I'm not worthy. Not rich enough, not tall enough, not American enough, not white enough, all these not enough feelings. And I carried that energy going into medical school. I actually wanted to be an actor when I was a kid. I wanted to use my voice to like, command influence. But, my heroes were Tony Robbins, Robin Williams, Mick Jagger. But I looked at me and I looked at all the other Asian people in the media and nobody looked like me. And so I didn't feel like that was a choice. And plus my mom said, you have 3 choices. You could be a doctor, an MD, or a physician. Yeah. So I went to medical school. But that feeling of not being enough, brings me to this quote of, from the Dalai Lama. He said, what he found most interesting about humanity, he said, man, because he could sacrifice his health in order to make money, and then sacrifice his money to recuperate his health. And I feel so many of my clients and me personally, I did that. Because when you feel like you're not enough, you're going to be chasing outside, for that thing. And for me, it was trying to get the car, trying to get the house, and I still didn't feel that. Yeah. That had to come from within. And I realized that so many people, if you start chasing those external things, not recognizing that what you really have is within you, you get stressed, and the stress will lead you to poor habits. Those poor habits will drive a low bioenergetic state, which we could talk about in a second, and that's what gets people chronic disease. But it's really kind of finding yourself, finding your authenticity, and finding, rediscovering why you're here that gets you back into alignment, and that brings you back into health.
Hell yeah, man. And that's part of the big reason why I brought you here, because I know that you are so into that mind, body, and authenticity. Authenticity is literally the theme now of the whole show, right? Like the people who come here are super authentic, and that's what you're putting out there. I could see you as an actor, actually. That's pretty funny. But the fact of the matter that you can go deep within, heal parts of you, right? That's deeply ingrained since childhood.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is that trauma or that adaptation that you made drove that force for you to become where you are now. But now you are where you are now. You can look back and go, you know what? It doesn't serve me anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I've been whole. I don't need anything else. So I'm so happy you did that work. So to understand, you did this physical work. You're starting to feel better already. Then the deep work.
Yeah.
So then what comes out of the other door then on the other side? This radiating guy here?
This radiating guy, right? This person in thrive state. And really, nobody would go back the other way once you start feeling this good, right? Once you start understanding what health is and what, feeling very vibrant is, you're not going to go back the other way.
No.
And the work here and the work, that I talk about in my book, Thrive State, is really around epigenetics and this whole concept of bioenergetics. Right? People ask me, what is bioenergetic medicine? Well, bioenergetic medicine is really the study of the transfer and flow of energy in living organisms. We're all made of energy, and energy always interacts with other energy. Yeah. And in fact, our bodies listen to every form of energy, be it sound, be it light, be it emotion. All those things can get transmuted. It hits our receptor in the eye. The receptor in the eye turns it into energy, into a nerve potential that goes to our brain. Our brain then responds by firing out hormones that then talk to our cells. So energy is always communicating. So people ask me, okay, well, what is this peak performance longevity thing that you're doing? Well, what actually makes up our physical body? Every individual cell, we're made up, each cell is the individual unit of our entire body, right? Our cells form tissues, form organs. The organs talk to each other through energy to form organ systems. So for us to perform at our best, for peak performance, mental means that our nervous system's firing on point. Physical means that our muscle cells are firing very well. So we want that peak performance. We want our cells to perform optimally as well. So when our cells are optimally performing and are in the optimal state, we get peak performance and we get longevity. On the flip side of that, if our cells are not optimally functioning, and let's just say, there's a lung cell and it's not extracting 100% of the oxygen, it's only extracting 50%. Well, then the heart only gets 50% of the oxygen. What is it supposed to do? It's supposed to pump blood to the rest of the body. Now it's not going to have that. It's not going to have its fuel, and it's going to pump less to the rest of the body. The rest of the body is going to feel that. So a suboptimal cell will lead to suboptimal systems. And what are suboptimal systems lead to? Well, suboptimal immune system, you'll get autoimmune disease and cancer. Suboptimal nervous system, you'll get dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Suboptimal cardiovascular system, atherosclerosis, strokes, heart attacks. So really, what then determines whether our cells are functioning optimally or suboptimally? And this is what the bioenergetics are. It's actually the energetic state, the energetic signals that we're giving our cells, because our cells are constantly listening. Our DNA is constantly listening to all the different energies that are coming inside of that cell, right? So that's the cool thing. People ask, okay, well, I get disease, because of my genetics. Both my grandparents had diabetes, which is why I probably got it early.
Right.
And those sugary drinks didn't help either.
For sure.
But what actually reversed that? Well, if we could change that energetic signal, and that's what I call the bioenergetic state. So when we give good energetic signals to our cells will be in that peak performance state. And that gives us longevity, that gives us immunity, that gives us, being free of chronic disease. That's how I got into this space.
Amazing. Bioenergetics, because no one's ever come on the show, sat on that chair and talked about bioenergetics. So this is really exciting because it's aligned with the whole epigenetics concept, right?
It's completely aligned. It's really epigenetics with more of the metaphysical component too, because there are things that are not, that don't actually tangibly, you actually see a physical hormone or cell or anything, but it's those energies that also affect, how our genes are expressed. So that's entirely what it is.
So I'd be interested, aside from like good nutrition versus processed foods, right? Like clean air in your home versus, different volatile organic compounds in the home. What are the energetic things that really have a positive or negative influence on our cells?
Great question. So basically every energetic input our DNA listens to, but there are 7 things. If you focus on these 7 major things, your risk of getting chronic disease is going to be super low, and that your ability to be in a thrive state is going to be really high. These 7 things are nutrition, movement, sleep, emotional and stress mastery, our thoughts and mindset, relationships, and then also purpose. And then my book actually goes through all the scientific data as to, okay, if you've got purpose, what's happening to what's happening to the transcription of your stress genes?
Nice.
What's happening to the inflammatory genes? So it turns out there are basically 2 main pathways that our cells go through. If you give the cell everything it needs, it thrives. So your telomeres are going to be long. You're going to get the maximal performance out of that cell. And then if not, if you don't give the cell what it needs, it gets into a danger state. And when the cells are in the danger state, that's when you get an increase in inflammation, a decrease in immunity, and a propensity to get chronic disease.
Wow. And it makes sense because it's a cell, it's the environment that it's in. And if we think from a cellular level, obviously it's going to go into the tissue level, the system level,
Yep.
and then you're just going to be like, oh, well, my digestive system's a mess now. But really simple, if we can implement those 7 things, which are a lot of the overriding themes that we talk about on this show.
Yeah.
The viewers and listeners, if by now, it's already like over and over, we're saying the same things in different ways, but it's really powerful because here on the Thrive State book that you have, you're saying that you mentioned these, but we can now learn about the science connected to it.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So for all of the white coats that are like, what's he saying about this energetic metaphysical stuff here? And then we open it, we go, oh, there's a little bit of studies on it. Hey,
Yeah.
right? Like that's amazing that you can translate that for the population because oftentimes metaphysical stuff is just thrown out the window because we're like, oh wait, no, that's way too
woo-woo. But where we're at now is the science is finally catching up to what we probably intuitively have known for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. And I've been feeling that. Like that's why I went into holistic medicine because I'm like, we're not just the physical. That's silly. There's mental, emotional. There's a spiritual aspect. I love that you spoke about the sense of purpose, and I want to talk about that one because I remember doing a show about sense of purpose and helping people find a sense of purpose. And we had a few people sit here and talk about like learning maybe what like field you may or should be in. Mm-hmm. How the heck does someone find a sense of purpose if we are sitting in a cubicle right now and they're like, how did I get here? Yeah. Like now they 2 kids at home and a wife and they're like, what? Well, I never even got to do anything.
Yeah, great question. Well, firstly, the sense of purpose, I want to just give a little bit of scientific data. One, it makes your telomeres longer. People have studied study this concept called eudaimonic well-being or eudaimonic happiness, and that's the well-being you feel when you're like connected to something bigger. Those people have longer telomeres. Those people have this gene transcription sequence called the conserved transcription response to adversity, which actually raises inflammation and lowers your immunity. Well, if you got purpose, you quiet down that gene. When you've got purpose, if you happen to be in the hospital, you spend fewer days in the hospital. Mm-hmm. If you've got purpose, as an American, you live 7 years longer. If you've got purpose, you also, if you happen to, you'll have lower risk of cardiovascular events like heart attack and stroke, which is the #1 killer in America. So purpose is so important, which is why you're like, how do you tap into purpose? And when I found that out, I started to get analysis paralysis. What's my purpose? And people can get that way, but purpose is actually really simple. And there's actually almost kind of like a biological explanation. And it's really not about finding it, but remembering it.
Ooh.
Right? I look at my nieces and nephews and I look at my daughter, they're just being, and they're just happy. And those emotional states of love, of gratitude, of joy, all those things are actually anti-aging and healing medicines. I talk about in my book what happens biochemically when you start feeling those things, right? So what is purpose to me? Purpose to me is the activities, the people, the beingness where you tap into those higher vibrational emotional states like love, like gratitude, and all those things that light you up. Well, that's just your being. That's just your authenticity. And your purpose is just you. Your purpose is you. Your purpose is just you authentically being you and sharing yourself with the world. And for me, what is my purpose? Well, your purpose is also all the experiences in your life, the struggles in your life that you overcome that is now a gift. And it's sharing those things. And it's just, it's not some grandiose thing. It could just be you being a happy person and like, helping out a child or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's really that community aspect of, firstly, it's authenticity, it's you, and then it's just sharing you with the world.
Ooh, man, that was so well put, man. With the remembering part was like everything, because that is on the deepest level. I truly believe we're here to just remember who we are.
Yeah.
And by remembering who we are embodying authenticity. And by
Yeah.
embodying authenticity, we're changing consciousness. We're changing consciousness. The world is on fire.
Woo!
You know what I mean?
Goosebumps, baby. Look at that. Look at that.
So I so feel that. And that just is like the most liberating thing, because someone who's viewing or listening going, how do I find my purpose? It's exactly what you said. It's like go to your sister's house. She has kids. Go see your niece. Go look at your children playing, and see them in that state of being.
Yeah.
They are not thinking about bills. They're not thinking about, whoa, why did they say that 2 hours ago?
Yep.
They're in this moment of now, moment present mindfulness being, and it's like a fountainhead flowing from there.
Yeah.
And that's so beautiful to see that, because that's true authenticity.
Yep.
As adults, can we embody that? Or did society tell us, no, you can't?
Exactly. It's really, so much of chronic disease is just a fabrication of a life that we weren't meant to live. We picked up all these, negative programs throughout that makes our lifestyle not really, acknowledge just the truth and the knowing and the enoughness and the worthiness of who we really, really are. Mm-hmm. And we walk away from who we are. Yeah. So now it's just remembering what that is again.
Yeah. And all of those signals could be a distraction to our authenticity. But I love that you said those traumas, those things that we go through, really help reveal our gifts, right? And they show us. And we had, actually, interestingly enough, Dr. Jay Tita, right? He was at A4M, we were all sitting at the same table. Mm-hmm. He said something very similar into overcoming adversity, and how adversity shows us our skills, shows us our gifts, really shows us gives us the direction and understanding, whoa, this is what
How beautiful is our human experience that's the case. Mm-hmm. One could argue, blame it all on society or whatnot,
sure.
But no, we were given those things. We were given those struggles, and now the struggles can now be a part of our awakening,
for sure,
and our gift now to the world.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, man. If you listen, if you take it that way, right? It's all perspective, right? Because we can go, oh no, I'm beat up, forget it. I'm not, I'm never going to overcome this, and my life is over. Or this is here for me, and I have a choice. I love that, man. So we have those 7 things that we're thinking about. We talked about the sense of purpose. What are some really good physical things we can start putting? We got into the mind body, which I love. That's this show is my favorite is when I'm talking about my body. But what are some of the real good physical things that we can start doing, viewers and listeners? Just good habits to start taking in.
Yeah. So let's dive down. Let's go through the very first bioenergetic element of sleep. I find people right now are just not getting quality sleep. So one of the things that people can really do, I think this is the biggest thing, is go to sleep and wake up the same time every day. And, a lot of people are like, they do that during the week because they got work, and on the weekends, they're going to change that up. But if you confuse your body by not doing that, your circadian rhythm gets off. When your circadian rhythms are off, your hormones are off, that's going to throw basically all your functions off. So just by going to bed and waking up the same time every day is going to be key. Yeah. We can go into more details as to, okay, well, if you're having problems sleeping, maybe blue light blocking glasses. Right. I sleep on a chili bed, which is a nice little
keeps you
biohack.
Cool, yeah.
Right. And I like to have some magnesium and glycine right before I go to bed too. So that's really awesome. And just having a nice little routine. I create small little ceremonies for myself.
You too, man.
A small little ceremony as I wake up, because you really want to kind of make life sacred. So when I wake up, I give myself time, for gratitude and move my body. But when I go to bed at the same time, create a little ceremony around sleep. Mm-hmm. And I think that the viewers will really, really find a lot of benefit from doing that.
Yeah.
I intermittent fast, and I'll change it up. I'll intermittent fast. I'll do time restricted certain days. I'll do OMAD or 1 meal a day every now and then. That's really allowed me to feel like I've got a lot of flexibility metabolically, whether I'm burning carbs or burning fat. So I feel that's really great. I'm pretty sure your viewers already kind of know how to eat. Right?
Yeah,
You probably have tons of
100%.
people, right?
And we had Dr. Will Cole right before this talk about metabolic flexibility.
Oh, amazing.
If they don't know, just go back one episode.
One episode.
Yeah, but that's awesome that we can do that too. So sleep, the fasting aspect, what else?
Well, let's talk emotions, all right? I talk about it in my book. There are emotions like anger, hate, resentment. Those emotions actually causes inflammatory markers to increase. IL-1, IL-6, IL-12, TNF-alpha, all right? That raises inflammation. They'll decrease your immunity. And we just said those other positive emotions are like anti-aging medicines. So we have to be aware of that. So having an emotional inventory is very, very important.
Yeah.
And being able to, have techniques to switch out of that. So I tell people, I give people one really neat technique is called create space and then act. And ACT is ACT for awareness, choice, and take action.
Nice.
The Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose. And in our choice lies our freedom and growth. So if our longevity, if our performance, if our optimal health is based on these bioenergetics, and if bioenergetics is all from our choices, if we make better choices, we'll transform who we are. So if you start to feel like you're in a negative, crummy state, all you have to do is tap into your parasympathetic system by creating space, 10 long, deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And then you activate your parasympathetic. You're actually activating your vagus nerve at that point. And you'll recognize that those negative emotions don't have so much of a hold. And in that space now, once you've created, you could say, oh, okay, why did I just get pissed off? Yeah. Is this an old program that threatened my ego? Is that what happened? So you start asking yourself those questions. And you have the awareness that it was probably some thought that's not even yours that's getting you pissed off. Then you do C, which is choice. Now you're like, okay, well, I know these thoughts aren't mine. I can actually focus on what I want to think and feel. I could start to maybe change the meaning of something, right? So you have the choice to choose to think and feel something different. And finally, take action. Start to do something different now. So if you got all pissed off because somebody crossed you in the freeway, you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna let that go. I really want to show up like Ishmael. I want to show up happy. I want to show up vibrancy. Okay, once I get out of my 10 breaths, I'm going to do this. It could just be smile to the next person or just call somebody and say, hey, what's up? I'm smiling. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just taking a new action. The more we can do that, the more we can control our choices moment by moment. That creates the bioenergetics that lead us to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance.
Oh, man, couldn't be better. That's amazing. Look, I have so many cut down voice notes on this, like that I want to put on Instagram already, because like you're just dropping these bombs, man. But I noticed, like, first of all, the awareness is the hardest thing. Yeah. People are in a reactive state, right? Oh, my girlfriend got me so mad, I'm gonna yell, But it's so important. Just do the 10 breaths. Yeah. Just go, okay, I'm gonna react, but let me step back and do 10 breaths, and then see if I want to react again. Exactly. 99% of the time, right? There's no reaction. If you create that space, this goes to the same for cravings. This goes to the same for any type of bad habit we currently have. If you create some space, whatever made you want to do that, you can go, okay, some old program or thought might make me want to do that. I get to choose something different. What an amazing intervention, right? Because it's free, it's cheap, and it's pretty damn fast. Right. Right. So and I love that you said it doesn't have to be in a reactive like I'm angry. Yeah. It can be like, okay, I'm craving sugar really bad. I'm home and I want to eat that bag of cookies that I have here. Yep. Maybe I should throw it away, but why do I, Right. But doing that breath, like you said, it'll activate the parasympathetic. So now we're, more relaxed, and then we get to be aware. Yeah. I think the hardest part, even in the awareness, is that action. That action where, like let's say, oh, my girlfriend got me really mad. I'm going to breathe 10 times. Okay, now I have awareness. I still want to not choose something that I'm not used to. It's the unknown, right? Yeah. Like, all right, let me lead with love instead of fear. But I love that empowering information, man. So many of us can really take that into account. And it's not perfect.
Are those things going to come back again? Yes.
Yeah.
But the more we exercise that muscle, the more new networks. You had an old network that led to the cravings, right?
Yeah.
You could just reprogram and know that anytime you change a habit, every time you try to change a program, Robert Sharman says it's going to be difficult at first, messy in the middle, and then very beautiful at the end. And as long as you can understand that, you're not going to beat yourself up along the way if you happen to mess up.
Yeah.
Like, say you wanted to stop eating sugar and
Yeah.
you give yourself a treat. All good, right? Don't beat yourself up. That's the other thing. Beating yourself up creates an energy that leads to inflammation and chronic disease down the road.
Yeah, like the anger, the resentment, right? Like you say, like celebrate it, but then if it doesn't serve you, use the ACT technique.
Right.
What a wonderful, brilliant. Yeah, I'm so happy about that. All right, so you're out here, you're in LA, you're doing concierge medicine, you're going to people's homes, and you're teaching them these bioenergetic pieces to their life, physical performance, optimization. Do you think it's possible for everyone to live longer, thrive longer, and be radiating?
Absolutely. The reason why I'm writing this book, and because I just feel so much better, and I almost kind of feel like a superhero version of myself.
Yeah.
I want everybody to be the same. Because if people lived into their purpose and they were the best, and humanity was all about interacting with superheroes, and the entire world is the
amazing.
Justice League.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Right? Humanity would just be doing this, right?
Yeah.
We would just be elevating ourselves. So that's why I'm so excited about this. And what I'm also excited is, like, most of the, actually everything in my book you can do for free. There are, certain additional things that I do, with hormone optimizations. There are things that, people might not know about the toxins that are, in their bodies, or what their gut microbiome status is. But if you focus on these 7 things, you might not even need a doc. But if you're still feeling like crap, if you still got symptoms, then work with a functional medicine, naturopathic, or integrative doc to be able to figure those things out.
Yeah, perfect, man. Perfect. I'm so happy you came on this show. You dropped so many bombs. Like, it's always what brings a lot of joy to me is when I hear professionals like medical doctors, functional doctors talk about the mind-body aspect, understand how bioenergetics, how it affects our cells. And you're preaching that with, like, radiating joy, man. So you're bringing a lot to the world. I'm really happy that I know you, man. And I'll say this, for everyone viewing or listening, this guy has this amount of energy, even off air, off the mic. You come in, walking through the door, and you're like, let's do this, So I'm really happy. How do we find you?
Well, the book is coming out soon. You can go to thrivestatebook.com to get yourself a copy. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I've just started a podcast myself, but you can find all these things at Kien Vuu MD.
Perfect, man. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I'll be reading the book very soon and sharing it with everyone. When is it going to come out, actually?
April 6th.
April 6th.
Yeah.
All right, so everyone, April 6th, keep your eyes open. And thank you, man. Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. Dr. Kien Vuu, man, dropping bombs. I tell you, like, this is how a doctor should be. Your doctor, if he doesn't embody that energy of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, then find a new doctor, because all of us deserve to be led and healed by healers like him. So amazing. Thank you all for showing up. As always, this week, the week after, talking to your loved ones, rating, reviewing, subscribing. You guys make this show. I'm only here to just deliver some information. Love you all.